Taiwo's hands trembled as he held the flickering oil lamp above his sleeping wife. One look, he told himself. Just one look to silence the voices, to prove the villagers wrong, to know the truth. The flame danced in the darkness, casting shadows across Zara's peaceful face. And in that moment, everything he had ever loved began to slip through his fingers like sand. But let me tell you how it all began. And if you are enjoying this tale of love and betrayal, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because you won't want to miss how this story ends. Trust me, it gets even more intense. 3 months earlier, Taiwo was the loneliest man in Ketura. At 30 years old, he worked his small farm from sunrise to sunset, talking to his goats because there was no one else to hear his thoughts. The other men in the village had wives, children, laughter filling their compounds. Taiwo had only the wind and his dreams. The storm came without warning on a Tuesday evening. Dark clouds rolled over the hills like spilled ink, and the wind began to tear in at the thatch roofs of the village huts. Taiwo rushed to secure his animals, his heart pounding as lightning split the sky. That was when he heard it. A cry so desperate it cut through the howling wind. Someone was drowning in the river. Taiwo ran toward the sound, his feet slipping in the mud. The river had swollen to twice its size, angry water churning with debris. And there, clinging to a fallen branch, was a woman. Even through the rain and chaos, Taiwo could see she was unlike anyone he had ever encountered. Her hair seemed to shimmer, even in the storm's darkness, and her eyes, when they met his, were the color of distant stars. He plunged into the water without thinking. The current fought him, trying to drag him under, but Taiwo was strong from years of farm work. He grabbed the woman around the waist and pulled her toward the bank, both of them gasping and coughing as they collapsed onto solid ground. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice like music, even through chattering teeth. "You saved my life." Taiwo carried her to his home, wrapping her in his only warm blanket and building up the fire. She sat shivering while he prepared hot soup, and he found himself unable to look away from her. She was beautiful, yes, but there was something else, something that made the air around her feel different, charged with possibility. "What's your name?" he asked, handing her a bowl of soup. "Zara," she said softly, "and you are very kind." "I'm Taiwo. You should rest here tonight. A storm is too dangerous." That night became 3 nights, then a week. Zara helped around the farm, and Taiwo discovered she was intelligent, funny, and carried a sadness in her eyes that matched his own loneliness. They would sit by the fire in the evenings, talking for hours about everything and nothing, and slowly, carefully, they fell in love. On the 8th night, as they sat watching the sunset paint the sky orange and purple, Taiwo reached for her hand. "Stay," he said simply. "Don't leave when the weather clears. Stay with me." Zara turned to him, and he saw tears in her starlit eyes. "Do you mean it? Truly?" Taiwo said, "I have never meant anything more in my entire life." He cupped her face in his rough farmer's hands. "Marry me, Taiwo. I don't have much, but everything I have is yours." She kissed him then, soft and sweet, and Taiwo felt his heart might burst from his chest. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, Zara's expression had turned serious. "I will marry you, Taiwo. I will be your wife and make a home with you, but you must promise me something, and you must never break this promise." "Anything," Taiwo said, still dizzy from their kiss. "I would promise you the moon." Zara took both his hands in hers, her grip surprisingly strong. "You must never, ever bring fire or flame near me while I sleep. No candle, no lamp, no torch. If you do, I will have to leave you forever, and great sorrow will follow. Do you understand? Can you make this promise?" Taiwo laughed, pulling her close again. That's all? Of course I promise. I would never do anything to lose you. They kissed again, deeper this time, and Taiwo thought he had never been so happy. How could he know that this simple promise would become the greatest test of his life? They married 3 days later, under the old baobab tree in the village square. The ceremony was simple, but the entire village of Ketura came to watch. Taiwo saw the way the men looked at Zara with envy. The women whispered behind their hands. He held his new wife closer and smiled. She had chosen him, poor farmer Taiwo, and nothing else mattered. That first night, as husband and wife, they lay together in Taiwo's small bed, wrapped in each other's arms. Zara kissed his neck, his jaw, his lips, and whispered, "I am yours now, completely. Are you happy? I am the happiest man who ever lived. I will make you happy too, I promise." "You already have," murmured Zara, nestling against his chest. "Now sleep, my husband. Tomorrow begins our new life." Taiwo closed his eyes, Zara's warmth beside him, and fell into the deepest sleep he had known in years. He did not see when Zara's eyes opened in the darkness. He did not see the soft glow that began to emanate from her skin, or the way tiny lights like fireflies danced around her fingers as she gently touched his sleeping face. He did not see her smile, sad and knowing, before the glow faded and she too drifted into sleep. If he had seen, perhaps everything would have been different, but that is the nature of promises and secrets, is it not? We cannot protect what we do not understand.
The changes began subtly, so subtly that Taiwo thought he was imagining them. The morning after their wedding, he went to check on his crops and stopped dead in his tracks. The yam plant that had been struggling and stunted the day before now stood tall and healthy, their leaves a vibrant green he had never seen on his farm. The cassava had doubled in size overnight. "Zara," he called, running back to the house. "Come see this." She emerged, wrapping a cloth around her shoulders, and smiled at his excitement. "It looks like you will have a good harvest this year, my husband." "Good? This is impossible. These plants were dying yesterday." Taiwo grabbed her hands and spun her around, laughing. "We are going to be rich. Well, not rich, but we will eat well at least." Zara kissed him softly. "Perhaps your luck has finally turned. Sometimes love brings blessings with it." Over the following weeks, the impossible became routine. Taiwo's 3 goats became 6, then 12. His chickens laid twice as many eggs. When he dug new beds for planting, he found gold coins buried in the soil, old and strange, with markings he could not read. The first time it happened, he ran to show Zara, breathless with shock. "We can build a bigger house," he said. "We can buy you fine clothes, jewelry, anything you want." But Zara had touched his face gently and said, "I do not need fine things, Taiwo. I only need you." Then she pulled him close and kissed him until he forgot about the gold entirely, lost in the taste of her lips and the feel of her body pressed against his. Their nights were filled with passion and whispered promises. Taiwo would hold her in the darkness, tracing the curves of her body with his hands, amazed that she was real, that she was his. "I love you," he would whisper against her skin. "I love you more than breath, more than life." "Then keep your promise," she would whisper back, her lips finding his in the dark. "Always keep your promise and we will be happy forever." And Taiwo always fell asleep first, content and exhausted, never knowing that Zara stayed awake in the darkness, her body glowing softly, her hands moving in patterns over their home, weaving protection and prosperity from starlight and shadow. The village noticed, of course. How could they not? Taiwo, who had barely scraped by for years, suddenly had the finest farm in Ketura. His compound expanded. He bought new tools, new animals, even hired help during harvest time. And through it all, his beautiful, mysterious wife remained at his side, quiet and graceful, speaking little to the other villagers. Where does his wealth come from? Bashir, Taiwo's neighbor, demanded at the village square one afternoon. Bashir's own farm had failed this season. His crops withered by drought while Taiwo's flourished. It is not natural. 3 months ago, it was poor as that, and now look at him. Perhaps he works harder than you, someone suggested. Work, Bashir spat. This is not work, this is witchcraft. That wife of his, the strange one, she has done something, cast some spell. Why does she never socialize with the other women? What is she hiding? The whispers spread like wildfire through Ketura. Taiwo tried to ignore them, but they began to poison even his happy moments. When he walked through the village with Zara, he felt eyes following them, heard conversations that stopped when they approached. Chief Adisa, the village leader, finally summoned them to his compound. The chief was a large man with an even larger ego, who wore elaborate robes and kept 3 wives to display his wealth. He sat on his carved wooden throne, looking down at Taiwo and Zara with calculating eyes. Taiwo, Chief Adisa said slowly, your success has been remarkable, unprecedented even. Some in the village wonder at it. Taiwo said carefully, his hand finding Zara. I have been fortunate, Chief. Fortunate, Chief Adisa repeated, his gaze sliding to Zara. And this wife of yours, she is very beautiful, very quiet. Tell me, Zara, where did you come from before you arrived in Ketura? Zara met his eyes calmly. From far away, Chief Adisa, I was lost and Taiwo found me. How convenient. The chief leaned forward. And you brought such prosperity with you. What manner of woman are you, I wonder? What secret do you keep? Taiwo's felt anger flash through him. My wife keeps no secret from me, Chief, and her past is her own business. Is it? Chief Adisa smiled coldly. A husband should know his wife completely, every part of her, unless, of course, she has something to hide. He paused deliberately. I am having a feast tomorrow night. You both will attend. I wish to know more about the mysterious Zara. It was not a request. The feast was a trap, though Taiwo did not realize until too late. Chief Adisa had invited every important person in Ketura, and he spent the entire evening asking Zara pointed questions in front of everyone. Do you cook for your husband, Zara? The other wives say they never see you at the market. I cook, Chief Adisa. And where did you learn such skills? From your mother? Your village? What village was that again? A small place, you would not know it. How mysterious. The chief exchanged glances with Bashir, who sat nearby. Tell me, Taiwo, does your wife have any unusual habits? Anything that strikes you as strange? Taiwo's jaw clenched. My wife is perfect in every way, Chief. Perfect, the chief laughed loudly. Every wife has flaws, Taiwo, unless she is not really a wife, but something else, something that only appears human. The room went silent. Zara's hand tightened on Taiwo's arm, but she said nothing, her face calm as still water. That is enough, Taiwo said abruptly, standing. We are leaving. Thank you for your hospitality, Chief, but I will not sit here and listen to my wife be insulted. They walked home in tense silence. Only when they were alone in their compound did Taiwo pull Zara into his arms, holding her tightly. I am sorry, Zara. I am so sorry for what they said.
Zara leaned out to see him, her eyes searching his face. Do you believe them, Taiwo? Do you think I am hiding something terrible from you? No, he said firmly, cupping her face and kissing her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. I trust you completely. You are my wife, my heart. Nothing else matters. But even as he said the words,
Even as they made love that night with desperate intensity, their bodies moving together in the darkness, a tiny seed of doubt had been planted in Taiwo's mind. And seeds, once planted, have a terrible way of growing. The next weeks were torture. Bashir and the other men would corner Taiwo whenever Zara was not around. A real man knows his wife's secret, Bashir would say. Are you afraid of what you might find? Are you less than a man? She makes you sleep before her every night, does she not? Another would add. What does she do while you sleep, Taiwo? Where does she go? What does she become? You are a fool, Bashir hissed one afternoon. She has bewitched you, stolen your manhood. The whole village laughs at you behind your back. Taiwo tried to shut out their voices, but they followed him everywhere. Even Chief Adisa joined in, mocking him publicly in the village square. Poor Taiwo, Chief Adisa said loud enough for everyone to hear. So wealthy now, but he does not even truly know the woman who sleeps beside him. What kind of husband accepts such mystery? That night, Taiwo lay beside Zara, his mind churning. She had fallen asleep with her head on his chest, one arm draped across him, and he could feel her steady breathing. He loved her. God, how he loved her. But the questions gnawed at him like rats in grain. What was she hiding? Why the strange rule about light? What happened to her body when she slept that she could not let him see? The villagers' words echoed in his head. What if they were right? What if she was dangerous? What if everything, their love, their life together, was built on lies? Just one look, he whispered to the darkness. One look to prove them all wrong, to know for certain. She would understand. She would forgive me. Taiwo carefully slipped out of bed. His hands shook as he found the small oil lamp they kept for emergencies. He had promised, he had sworn, but surely she would understand. He was her husband. He had a right to know. He lit the lamp. The small flame caught and grew, casting golden light across their bedroom. He held it high and turned to look at his sleeping wife. His breath caught in his throat. Zara's body was translucent, glowing with an inner light like moonlight on water. Beneath her skin, tiny stars swirled and danced, entire constellations moving through her veins. Her hair floated slightly as if she lay underwater, and it shimmered with colors he had never seen before, had no names for. She was breathtakingly beautiful and utterly, impossibly inhuman. My God, what are you? Taiwo whispered. His hand trembled, and a single drop of hot oil fell on Zara's bare shoulder. Her eyes opened. For a moment, they simply stared at each other. Taiwo saw no anger in her starlit eyes, but only an infinite, devastating sadness that made his heart crack in his chest. No, Zara, I'm sorry. I didn't mean. You broke your promise, she said softly, sitting up. The glow beneath her skin began to pulse, growing brighter. You chose their voices over your love for me. You chose doubt over trust. Please, Taiwo dropped the lamp, reaching for her, but his hands passed through her arm like she was made of mist. Please, I love you. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Please don't leave me. Tears ran down his face as he watched her body begin to fade. She was disappearing, becoming transparent, the stars inside her winking out one by one. I gave you everything, Zara whispered, and now there were tears on her face too, tears that sparkled like diamonds as they fell. My light, my magic, my heart, all I asked was for your trust in the darkness. But you demanded to see, to know, to control what should have remained sacred between us. I'm sorry, Taiwo was sobbing now, trying to hold on to her vanishing form. I'm so sorry. I'll do anything. Please, just stay. Zara reached out, and for a moment her fading hand touched his cheek, solid and warm. You chose sight over faith, my love. Now you will see clearly what you have lost. She leaned forward and kissed him one last time, and her lips tasted of starlight and salt and goodbye. Perhaps if your heart learns what your eyes could not teach it, we will meet again, but that is a long road and you must walk it alone. Then she was gone, vanished like smoke, and Taiwo was left clutching empty air in a room that suddenly felt cold and dead. He collapsed to the floor, screaming her name, but only silence answered. When dawn came, the transformation was complete. The thriving crops had withered overnight. The gold had turned to ordinary stones. The animals were gone. Even the house seemed smaller, older, as if years had passed in a single night. Taiwo stood in the ruins of his prosperity and understood that he had lost the only thing that truly mattered. The villagers came to mock him, but she laughed loudly. "Where is your witch wife now, Taiwo? Where is all your wealth?" Chief Adisa sneered. "You were a fool to trust her. Good riddance to whatever demon she was." But Taiwo barely heard them. He was already packing his small bag, his face set with determination despite the tears that still streaked his cheeks. If Zara had said there was a road, then he would walk it. If there was any chance, any possibility of finding her again, he would search until his last breath.
"I will find you," he whispered to the empty morning air. "I swear it, Zara. I will prove that I understand now. I will walk through fire, through darkness, through whatever trials await. And this time, I will not break my promise." He turned his back on Ketura, on the mocking voices, on the ashes of his old life, and walked toward the whispering forest where legend said the spirit dwelt. The path ahead was uncertain, the journey impossible, but Taiwo's heart had finally learned what his eyes had destroyed. Love was not about seeing everything. It was about trusting in the darkness, keeping promises when no one watched, and believing in the sacred spaces between two hearts. He had broken that trust with fire and doubt, but perhaps, just perhaps, he could rebuild it with faith and sacrifice. The forest loomed before him, dark and mysterious, and Taiwo took his first step toward redemption. But that, my friends, is a story for another time. And there you have it, the tale of Taiwo and Zara, a story about love, trust, and the terrible price of broken promises. Did Taiwo's choice surprise you? Would you have lit that lamp if you were in his position? Drop your answers in the comments below, and while you're at it, tell me where in the world you are watching this from. I love hearing from viewers across the globe. If this story moved you, touched your heart, or made you think about the promises you keep in your own life, smash that like button and subscribe to this channel. We bring you captivating folk tales, legends, and stories from around the world that teach us about love, loss, courage, and what it means to be human. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story, because trust me, the next tale we have coming will blow your mind. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe someone who is struggling with trust in their relationship, or someone who loves a good story with a powerful message. Let's spread these timeless lessons together. Remember, the most precious things in life are often held not in our hands, but in our hearts. And sometimes, the darkness is not something to fear, but something to trust. Until next time, keep your promises, cherish your loved ones, and never let doubt destroy what love has built. I'll see you in the next story.